What's something your partner or ex-partner has told you that changed the way you look at them? He seemed sorry enough. It was when I was assaulted by someone, and in my panic I left my keys there. I was too afraid to get them back, so my ex had to meet the guy who assaulted me to get the keys back. My ex said he seemed sorry enough after the meeting. My ex for almost a month made me re-explain what happened nonstop. Eventually he flat out said he didn't believe me. His mom was a police officer. She also blamed me. Eventually I ended up meeting someone randomly, and in my fuck the world downward spiral, I told this stranger what happened to me. He told me I didn't deserve it, hugged me, and apologized. If a stranger can show more kindness than someone who says they love me, what the fuck? I broke up with my ex that night. My ex-partner that I was too emotional to be around after I found out he dropped my elderly dog off at the vet's and told them he was abandoned and put him down. That my energy was chaotic after he manipulated me into leaving my house with my children so he could move back in with his new GF. 2 months after we split. There were a lot of red flags during the decade we were together, but boy, did he show all his colors when we split. Before we got married, my mill was making oblique comments about changing my last name to my husband's. We had talked about it, and I was leaning towards keeping my maiden name due to sheer laziness. His parents are pushy and can be weird about this sort of thing, so the prodding was getting annoying and my husband noticed. He told his mom I fell in love with first name maiden name. I don't have any idea who first name has last name is. I'm marrying the woman I fell in love with. When I tell you that I swooned, I wasn't expecting a declaration, and it was so validating, supportive, and just generally gave me this overwhelming feeling of damn. I loved this guy before, but he sees me. It made me feel like a partner, an equal, like my agency was the most important thing to him and that he would actively protect and advocate for it in the marriage. From then on, I had strong feelings about keeping my name and even stronger feelings for him. It was a small thing, but hearing how he considered me in that moment was the most attractive thing he's ever done, and he's lived up to that standard since. It's also been an inspiration for me to meet him at that high bar as well. One of my ex-partners during an argument, they yelled at me to get the fuck out of their house. They grabbed my wrists while I was packing to stay with my dad, pinned me down while yelling at me, and that shit hurt deep. I understood that his folks owned the property for us to rent. I contributed my share and explicitly stated that if we got married, I agreed to prenup. I felt like I was walking on eggshells after that. I couldn't see a future together. The moment she dismissed my anxiety as just an excuse for being lazy, it was like a switch flipped in my brain. I had been dealing with panic attacks and struggling to explain what life with anxiety really felt like. Then she just reduced it all to laziness. That's when I knew she would never understand the battles I fight inside my own head. It wasn't just unsupportive, it was invalidating my entire experience. Trust me, I wasn't looking for sympathy, just a little empathy. It was a sobering reminder that not everyone can walk a mile in another's shoes, nor even take a single step, and that was a deal breaker for me. My ex told me it's unfair that women got their own train wagon and men don't. I explained it to him that it's to prevent women from being SA and creates a safe space for women, especially while traveling during nighttime. He was furious and insisted men should get their own wagon. I absolutely agree that men are victims of SA as well, but he couldn't fathom that this is an issue so many women deal with on a daily basis. He confided he was a product of what would be considered statutory rape now. His mother abused him physically and emotionally. Later, she abused his step-siblings as well. For instance, she broke his clavicle when he was a toddler. She was a social chameleon, very charming and gracious till the public doors were shut. He had aunts and grandparents who loved him and mitigated as they could. Realized why order and routine are important to him and why he noticed even slight fluctuations in my mood. Gave me insight to why he works to always be calm, but also remains distant from most situations and has distrust of people. Back in 2020, I was having a panic attack after being potentially exposed to COVID and messaged her to ask for help calming down. She'd asked me to do the same many times over the years. Her response was that she had just started a movie night call with her sister, who she saw every day, so this wasn't a rare occurrence, and her sister's partner talked every day. Also not a rare occurrence and didn't want to leave it so early, but could check in later. It was radio silence for the rest of the night. The next day, when I told her I was hurt and felt ignored, she complained that I made her feel like she wasn't a good enough girlfriend, which wasn't fair. We'd been together for 4 years at that point. Time and time again, I dropped everything to reassure her through anxiety attacks, toxic friendships, bad family situations, and projecting her insecurities onto my social life. I made multiple cross-country visits on a tight budget because she was afraid of flying. She never visited me once. She spent hours having fun and didn't care enough to pause even once to help me when I asked for it. Opened my eyes to a lot of ugly shit in that relationship.